NTS.
Hi, this is W.E.R, a.k.a. R.I.P Productions. You're listening to Garage Evolutions on NTS.
Hi, I'm Tim Deluxe, one half of W.E.R, R.I.P Productions, and also a DJ, producer, artist.
Hi, I'm Omar, DJ Omar, one half of W.E.R, R.I.P Productions, 10 Below, DJ, producer, artist, musician, love anything to do with music, even interviews.
Speed Garage, to me, it's a name that I'm not sure where it came from or who invented it. I think it came from the media, to be honest, and it was a sort of a hangover from the fact that with the original garage scene that was happening, it was kind of more of an after party scene, really, that was happening after clubs like Ministry on a Saturday, and that was like back in the sort of mid-90s, and people were obviously had been up all night, and then DJs would be playing the records slightly faster on a Sunday morning and then Sunday night at, say, Gas Club and stuff, just to kind of keep the energy, keep people awake and moving. And I think the media latched onto that. So if we go with that for a moment, I guess it's a kind of melting pot of styles that entail some garage, some jungle, drum and bass, even some techno, and some dancehall and ragga. So it is a real kind of melting pot of a sound, Speed Garage. It's always 4/4 as well. It's never really any what we class as two-step Speed Garage. But yeah, it's something like that, I think.
I also think in terms of the term Speed Garage, the original garage or US kind of house stroke garage was around 124 BPM. But what would happen is a lot of these kind of after parties, which Tim alludes, the DJs, just to get the vibe up, would play American records pitched up on the 1210s around probably 128 to 130. So that probably also is part of the stuff that went into the melting pot to come up with the term Speed Garage. Because I remember we would have American DJs that would come over, such as Eddie Perez, that from Smack Productions, is a good friend of mine, and DJ Disciple that Tim and I both know quite well. And they would often laugh when they came to the clubs, and they're like, "Hey, those records are being played so fast, man." And I'm like, "Well, that was just the vibe that would get people rocking." I think from Tim and my perspective, doing the W.E.R R.I.P Productions, the whole ice cream thing, it's always a tricky one because we didn't set out to make Speed Garage. We were just making records that sounded good, that had a nod to America, but we wanted to make stuff that would rock in the clubs over here and on pirate radio. It's a bit of a tricky one because I think the term, maybe hijacked is the right term, that anything that kind of had a big bass line, that's Speed Garage. If it's got a big bass line, it's Speed Garage. But if you listen to our early stuff, most of it didn't have a big bass line. It was just played fast. So it's still confusing for me to this point.
I think the one thing I would say is from a purely stylistic point of view, is that there was the introduction of the breakdown and the build-up. That's, for me, where things changed, because in the original kind of garage records and house records that we were really into and were inspired by, they didn't really have those kind of moments They were groove driven. They didn't really break down or build up. They kind of stayed on one energy level. And one of the big turning points, at least for me, and I always call it a bit of a prototype of a speed garage record, is actually Kenny Dope's remix of Magic, a record called Magic All Stars. And it kind of slipped under the radar, but it was very big on the scene. And it was kind of the first time that there was a record that had a breakdown and people were waiting for this drop and this bass line to kick in. And then after that, not about a year later, Armand Van Helden came onto the scene with, first of all, the Tori Amos remix, which had that big extended breakdown, and then the CJ Boland remix. And even the CJ Boland remix, I think it was called Drum and Bass Mix. And at that point, we could see that there was this kind of, in clubs at least, people were up for kind of having these moments with breakdowns and build-ups. And Omar and I were both into drum and bass and jungle. That's how we met in the record shop I used to work in. And so we had extensive knowledge from a UK perspective. And I think that's what worked for us so well, because while Armand Van Helden, I guess, laid some paving stones down, if you liked, with that style, he's based in America. And so he was always an outsider looking in, whereas we had grown up in London. We had been to drum and bass nights. We would listen to Cool FM. We would listen to, these DJs playing, Fabio and Groove Rider. We grew up with these guys. So we knew that scene inside out, like the back of our hand, as well as the American house scene. And so I think in some ways, the more I think about it, is London is one of the only places this would have happened and could have happened. That trajectory of them bringing in the sounds from drum and bass, which is, for me, aesthetically sounds of, dancehall, reggae, ragga, bass music, dub music, and then fusing that with house music, American house music. But more I think about it, and that's only with the benefit of hindsight, I think at the time we didn't really see it like that. But now, as well, subsequently seeing dubstep form and other styles, that the kind of melting pot here in London, cultural melting pot, also plays a massive, massive role into it.
It feels like it could only have happened and started in London because of all the influences. A lot of it was kind of experimental, but it was all about mixing our cultures, our musical vibes, putting them into a melting pot, and to come up with something that we thought was going to be different and just give the kids some energy. I think in terms of a sound in relation to clubs and early adopters, there was a really post-ministry type clubs that Tim was mentioned earlier on, such as Gas Club, and I think it's Ganton Street, right in the middle of West End, and Frog and Nightgown and Elephant and Castle. And they used to play the really early UK garage. People would go there, continue drinking through the night and the early morning. And then Twice as Nice, where Spoonie was resident. Matt Jam Lamont from Tough Jams was a regular guest. I was a resident there as well. And these clubs were specifically for garage, and I guess you could call it speed garage aficionados would attend, pop the champagne, wear their best threads. Even if they're getting there at 4 a.m, the party would start whenever people turned up. And the funny thing is, going back to the whole Ripgroove story, Jonathan asked me to cut him, Spoonie asked me to cut him a Rip dub plate at Music House. And Music House was Jason Wookie's family ran Music House. So the whole thing was very kind of connected and insular. And I remember going to Twice as Nice. I had a dub plate and Spoonie had a dub plate, but he was playing before me. And I told Tim and Andy, when Jonathan put the dub plate on, I was hiding behind the decks because I didn't know what the reaction was going to be. And the Twice as Nice crowd would know they didn't suffer fools gladly, and they would quite happily boo maybe sometimes throw stuff towards the decks if they didn't like something. And I just didn't know. And it got to the point when it has the first big breakdown after the long drum intro. Broke down, and they had a Clark Technic sound system in Twice as Nice that was phenomenal. You could just really hear the sustained pad in the breakdown. Then when it built back in, it kicked in and people just started screaming, going crazy. Jonathan had to rewind it. And I remember calling Tim and saying, I don't know what we've done, but I think we've got some kind of crazy hit. Because if they love it, everyone else is going to love it.
Yeah. Twice as Nice was pretty hardcore, because there was also an incident when they brought over Tony Humphries. And so they were at the Arches over by near Borough Market, actually. It's a NCP car park now. They brought Tony Humphries over for a guest slot. But Tony Humphries, going back to what Omar said earlier, he played at 118, 120 BPM. And so he came in and was playing a traditional US garage, Jersey garage set. And to say it didn't go down well. And it was a real industry one as well, because it was on a Sunday night and you had loads and loads of industry people there, because bear in mind, Tony Humphries had only previously ever played at Ministry of Sound. And then here he was in London playing at the Arches. It wasn't his fault. It was the scene had become big enough and thing that it was stepping into its own at that point in time. That definitely was a flashpoint.
I think also with Tony Humphries, for the whole UK vibe, UK scene, UK garage, speed garage, you couldn't just come over on a plane from America and fly straight into the clubs and play cold. You had, it's almost like you had to do a bit of research, or someone would have had to tell you, this is the vibe, this is what to play. Disciple used to come over quite a lot. He stayed at mine sometimes, or would stay locally. And he'd come to the studio to see what Tim and I were doing and to hear the sounds. It's almost like to make sure he knew his market. And, stuff like Todd Edwards that already had that whole cut up, vocoded kind of vibe, that always worked. So when Todd came over and did stuff, it would always smash it because his records were already hits. Whereas Tony Humphries was playing the same way he would play it, the tunnel, which is, as Tim said, fast, slower. You play the records for 8, 9, 10 minutes, go from the dub into the full vocal. But Twice as Nice in the whole UK garage, speed garage vibe was play the records fast, play them short, to kick the proverbial and get the crowd rocking. And when they're rocking, you switch it, spin back into another record. It's completely different to the style that Tony would have done at Ministry or Murada's, where they played for 7 hours. 8 hours really on a groove and build the crowd. It's almost like it was a battle when you talking about Wookie's song Battle as well, where it's all quite intense and the DJs are there. It's almost like, right, I've got to play for now. I want to smash the crowd, which is a bit like the drum and bass side, where the DJs come on and want to tear stuff apart. So you'd have Jonathan Spoonie coming on. He's doing his bit, and Easehead comes on and lifts it another level. Then Matt Jam thinks, how can I do it? But it's all quite short. An hour, sometimes even 45 minutes was not uncommon. So that US traditional, chilled out, laid back building style didn't work. You had to hit the ground running. And at places like Twice as Nice, if you didn't hit the ground running, you were getting booed off in 5-10 minutes. Get off, we're not interested.
Also, it was quite enlightening because we could really see that there was this literally a UK garage sound beginning to happen and starting to happen, that there's only certain records would cut the mustard, certain records had to be played in a certain way. And I think then when we came along with Ripgroove, that was just a further extension of that, or if you like, us turning it up even more on the Richter scale, kind of like knowing these cultural references of what to take and how to use it. There was a difference in the early days between up north and down south, as we actually named our remixes Up North, Down South, because weirdly, when Ripgroove started to become popular, we were getting asked to go and visit clubs and in the north of England and play. And what we were seeing was that they were into the kind of tougher end of it with the bassline stuff. And if we went too quote unquote soulful or too mellow or too garagey, again, going back to the kind of Tony Humphries situation, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. And we actually, when we started remixing, I think for the Ultranate remix we done of Free, we called it R.I.P up north, R.I.P down south. We've done that a few times on mixes because going up, I think Newcastle, there was a club called Nice in Newcastle that we played at, and that was they were huge fans of ours, and they got us to go and play very regularly up there. Over in Ireland as well, even in Dublin, we went over quite a few times, and there was definitely a separation in terms of sound, but still a link as well. It wasn't completely a different scene either. It was strange. It was one of those, sometimes you'd have to kind of just gauge it by playing a record and just see if it would work or not. And I think that maybe later set the scene for places like Sheffield and some of the other northern places to get involved and take it on then even further than with the niche sound and people like Jamie Duggan and stuff later on. But definitely even as early, 97, 98, that was happening. It was just like, oh wow, there's another sort of branch here or another thread, it's sort of spawning off of this sound.
Ripgroove was made in 1997. It was the 10th release on our label Ice Cream. Up until that point, we'd done single vinyl. And it was almost, I don't know, our recollections may vary, but it felt like it was maybe a bit of a thank you to the fans that supported us. And then maybe a bit of a farewell, because we were at a bit of a crossroads in terms of what we were going to do with the label, with R.I.P. Productions and Double 99, because we had a bit of a cult following as the label was building, but we weren't selling phenomenal units. It wasn't like, okay, we can quit our day jobs and do this. And Andy, that has run the label through to today, was like, well, why don't we do a double pack vinyl? I'll do some fancy artwork, gatefold sleeves, just do something as a big thank you. And at the same time, it's also going to be promotional. Nobody else does double packs. I'll make it bright. I think it was like a magenta or pink sleeve. And what happens is Tim and I were getting distracted. I don't know whether it was by doing little remixes or other stuff and just day-to-day stuff. So Andy became frustrated and started to name the tracks on the double pack before we'd made them. Because it's like, I've got to get the artwork done. I can't wait for you boys. Yeah, the printers need artwork. And Ripgroove was one of the tracks that he named. I think Jump was the other one. And they're probably the most successful two tracks from the double pack. He named them, and we gave the names because we thought, well, it could be anything. So it was quite a wide net. Ripgroove could be anything. Tim and I went into the studio, which at the time was in my little kitchen in Islington, a couple of hi-fi speakers and loads of American kit. Put all our eggs into that basket and just started making stuff. Andy's like, well, where are the tracks? When's my stuff coming? And we just started to do crazy things. So there were no boundaries, and it takes us all back into the terminology of speed garage and our history in music. So, bass lines, drums, little snippets and sounds all went into the melting pot, and Ripgroove was what came out of it.
Yeah, and just to add about the stylistic with what Omar was saying, because we had this deadline to make these records for this double pack, one of the other beauties of it was that we turned the records around really quickly, because we're kind of like, we've got to get these tracks. I think all in all, the double pack contained 8 tracks. And so we weren't really thinking, and Ripgroove, actually, we'd done it in an afternoon. It was really quick. It was a really spontaneous moment. And I remember when we finished it, I think Jonathan Spooney came round, who's good friends with Omar. And he would pop in and out the studio every now and again, at least once or twice a week. And he came around and he's like, oh, what's happening? What you guys been up to today? And we were like, check this out. And he was like, oh my gosh, you guys are mad. You know, and at that point, you know, we didn't know. We kind of, Omar and I said to each other, this is either going to be massive or it's going to completely flop and go over people's heads. It was so different to all the previous stuff that we've been doing. Like Omar said, it was almost like a crossroads as well at that point in time. And while we could see these subtle influences and changes happening within the scene quite quickly, for us, it definitely was aesthetically a very different sound altogether, and obviously the beginning of something new. Because I think for me personally, one of the most happiest and sort of fulfilling moments with Ripgroove was when we went to Notting Hill Carnival that year, and literally reggae sound systems were playing the record. So it was like we'd gone full circle around this whole kind of different scenes of music. We'd gone from a American US house scene that we loved and were influenced by, into a kind of drum and bass situation, then back later on that year at Carnival, where Ripgroove was one of the biggest records, and then, you know, reggae and dub sound systems are playing the record. And it was a real eye-opener of like, oh wow, we've kind of crossed a lot of genres here, and a lot of different people are tapping into this record, as well as the sort of mainstream Pete Tong and house DJs as well. So yeah, that for me was something, because it's really difficult to do that as a producer, or to have a record as an artist that just goes across different genres. Hi, this was Tim Deluxe
and Omar Adamora from Double 99, a.k.a. R.I.P Productions. Thank you for listening to Garage Evolutions on NTS.
No muscle let this draw style, can't just touch you and touch you.
Nine, 8, 7, 6 million ways.
What's right now?
burning up inside. Got me 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 burning up, 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 burning up.
NTS.